Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. India launches a pilot project, PM Internship scheme, to boost skill development with financial assistance of around $60 a month for each intern to be placed in one of the nation's top private companies. Several nations have begun evacuating their nationals from Lebanon, with Israel pressing on with its airstrikes and ground raids in Hezbollah territory. Central and South Beirut hit. The United Kingdom has agreed to give up sovereignty of the remote but strategically important Chagos Islands in the Indian Ocean to Mauritius after more than 50 years in a historic deal. And the much-awaited Women's T20 World Cup kicks off in the UAE with a Bangladesh versus Scotland encounter. India to begin their campaign against New Zealand in Dubai on Friday. Well, tensions are escalating in northern Israel as rocket sirens blared across the region on Thursday. The Israeli military has confirmed that around 25 rockets were fired from Lebanon into the upper Galilee. Now, this latest flare-up follows an Israeli airstrike on the Hezbollah facilities in southern Lebanon that killed 15 operatives. The IDF has issued a warning to residents of over 20 more towns in southern Lebanon to evacuate their homes immediately. Israeli military announced on Thursday that airstrikes 3 months ago eliminated Rouhi Mushtaha, the head of the Hamas government in Gaza, and 2 senior security officials. This development comes amid heightened Israel-Hamas tensions. The region remains on high alert with potential for further escalation. And several nations have begun evacuations of their nationals from Lebanon amid Israel's pressure with its airstrikes and ground raids in Hezbollah territory. Spain's Ministry of Defense says 2 planes have been sent to evacuate about 500 Spaniards from Lebanon. Meanwhile, an escalation in the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah over the past 2 weeks has led to clashes between Israeli and Hezbollah forces inside Lebanon. And Japan's Air Self-Defense Force has also dispatched an aircraft to Jordan to facilitate citizens' evacuation. The planes will arrive by Friday and remain on standby. Chinese state media has also said that its government has evacuated over 200 of its citizens from Lebanon. And the Hellenic Air Force is also conducting evacuation operations from Greek and Greek Cypriot citizens from Beirut. In addition, as tensions between Iran and Israel intensify, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian met with Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan and members of the Hamas delegation in Doha this week. Pezeshkian's visit to Qatar comes on the heels of significant escalations in the West Asian region. On the 1st of October, Iran let loose a barrage of around 200 ballistic missiles and drones targeting Israel. It has since intensified its military operations against the Hezbollah, sending IDF troops into Lebanon, and has sworn to hit back at Iran as well. Now, ahead of the first anniversary of the 7th of October attacks by the Hamas in Israel, the country's ambassador to India, Reuven Azar, has said the attack has strengthened Israel's resolve to neutralize the Hamas's threat.
We were surprised on the 7th of October, and the nature of these atrocious attacks that included rape and burning and killing of entire families and killing of children in front of their fathers and hostages that were taken. This shocked us on the one hand, but on the other hand, it made us very, very determined to fight the terrorists, very determined to neutralize the Hamas threat. And our government was very clear about that. So we have seen that Israel's society raised up to the cause. And we are fighting the terrorists, and we are sure we are going to prevail.
The Israeli ambassador also hailed the Indian government's stance, particularly Prime Minister Narendra Modi's strong leadership against threats to humanity.
We are very encouraged by the approach of the Indian government, especially the approach of Prime Minister Modi. We are thankful for that. We think that we have to have leaders like him that have conviction, that are strong against this threat on humanity.
Now, multiple international airlines have also suspended flights to the region or altered routes to avoid affected airspace. Indian flag carrier Air India has suspended flights to and from Tel Aviv until further notice. The Algerian airline Air Algerie suspended flights to and from Lebanon until further notice. Latvia's Air Baltic cancelled flights to and from Tel Aviv till the 31st of October. The Spanish airline Air Europa cancelled flights to Tel Aviv until the 7th of October. Air France on the 30th of September suspended Paris-Tel Aviv and Paris-Beirut flights until the 8th of this month. And the UAE's Emirates cancelled flights between Dubai and Beirut until the 8th of October as well. India has rejected US report on religious minorities in response to media queries regarding a country update on India in the US Commission on International Religious Freedom report. India's Ministry of External Affairs has said that the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom is a biased organization with a political agenda. It continues to misrepresent facts and peddles a motivated narrative about India. India has rejected the malicious report that only serves to discredit USCIRF further. India has urged the Commission to desist from such agenda-driven efforts and advised them to utilize their time more productively on addressing human rights issues within the United States. Now, on his first foreign visit, newly appointed NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte held a joint press conference with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv. Zelensky discussed the battlefield situation and Ukraine's victory plan with the NATO chief. Pledging continued support for Kyiv, Rutte vowed to help shore up Western support for Ukraine. He also assured NATO's commitment of making Ukraine its member.
NATO stands with Ukraine for your security and for ours. Ukraine is closer to NATO than ever before and will continue on this path until you become a member of our alliance. I very much look forward to that day.
Mauritius will assume sovereignty over Chagos Islands after it reached a historic agreement with the United Kingdom to settle a decades-long dispute. Britain said on Thursday it would give up sovereignty on the Chagos Islands to Mauritius in a deal that would allow people displaced decades ago to return home. The decision came after Britain and Mauritius reached a historic agreement to settle a decades-long dispute. In a social media post, Britain's Foreign Minister David Lammy said that the operation of Diego Garcia, a strategic airbase in the Indian Ocean jointly operated with the United States, was protected by the agreement. The decision is being heavily criticized by Britain's opposition party, but US President Joe Biden has welcomed the deal and said that it would secure the effective operation of the airbase into the next century. The UK and Mauritius have also thanked India and the US for assisting them in reaching this political agreement. The European Union took Hungary to European Court of Justice on Thursday over laws passed by Budapest to curb foreign influence in the country. Whereas critics said the decision aimed to silence government opponents. Spokesperson of European Court of Justice said it considers its national law on the defence of sovereignty to be in breach of EU law.
Today the Commission has decided to refer Hungary to the Court of Justice because it considers its national law on the defence of sovereignty to be in breach of EU law.
Now, students and teachers in Egypt are in dilemma after the Education Ministry of the country decided to scrap many core subjects and a foreign language. This abrupt decision exposed the strains on an under-resourced and highly competitive schooling system in the country. Many teachers will be reassigned and may struggle to replace supplementary income earned through private tutoring. The Egyptian government vowed to fight private tutoring and considers it one of the biggest challenges facing the educational system in the country. The new decisions aim to lift the burden off the students and their parents by decreasing the number of subjects. Six days after Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida, it carved a destructive path through much of the U.S. southeast, killing more than 160 people. United States President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris also visited South Carolina to assess the damage inflicted by Hurricane Helene, where still a lot of people are without power after so many days.
President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris visited South Carolina, North Carolina and Georgia on Wednesday to see firsthand the devastation brought in the U.S. Southeast by Hurricane Helene, which has killed at least 160 people. Earlier this week, Trump visited Georgia. Presidents and presidential candidates usually do not visit a storm-hit region immediately because of fears they will distract from rescue efforts and divert resources from local law enforcement officials and emergency responders. But the poll season has altered the matrix. More importantly so for the candidates and the political parties, North Carolina and Georgia are among 7 key battleground states in the November 5th election, which is expected to be won by thin margins. Biden landed in Greer, South Carolina, before boarding Marine One for an aerial tour of the region. From the helicopter, Biden could see the grim devastation brought to parts of North Carolina, including Asheville and Chimney Rock. Many of the people living in the area remained cut off from contact with the outside world, even as the U.S. president passed overhead. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris visited Augusta, Georgia, to meet with victims and announce federal funds to cover local costs following the storm.
The President and I have been paying close attention from the beginning to what we need to do to make sure the federal resources hit the ground as quickly as possible. And that includes what was necessary to make sure that we provided direct federal assistance.
Former President Donald Trump, a Republican running against Harris in this year's presidential election, has falsely claimed that Biden, a Democrat, has been unresponsive to the hurricane's destruction, an allegation local officials deny.
In a moment like this, we put politics aside. At least we should put it all aside, and we have here. There are no Democrats or Republicans, only Americans. And our job is to help as many people as we can, as quickly as we can, and as thoroughly as we can.
Before leaving Washington, Biden directed up to 1,000 active duty troops to help with response and recovery efforts. Almost 6,000 members of the National Guard are deployed across the 6 states affected by the storm. Biden will head to Georgia and Florida on Thursday. Harris will travel to North Carolina in the coming days. Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida on Thursday as a powerful Category 4 hurricane before tearing a destructive path through southeastern states for several days. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's also now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Districts of Chiang Mai, province of Thailand, have been facing problems caused by flash floods that have submerged several villages in the province. However, the floodwaters have started to retreat in some places. In order to save lives of people, the authorities had requested them to move their precious items to safer places, along with carrying out relief operations. New NATO chief Mark Rutte has visited Ukraine on his maiden formal trip. The NATO chief discussed the war in Ukraine and Kiev's victory plan with President Volodymyr Zelensky. A rare albino wallaby, Olaf, has been born at Australia's Symbio Wildlife Park. Olaf, who was named after the snowman in the movie Frozen, was born more than 7 months ago. But zookeepers only discovered the joey's albinism in the past 6 weeks. In a tragic incident, at least 9 people have been reportedly killed after a fire tore through a hospital in southern Taiwan. The incident took place while the health ministry was evacuating patients due to Typhoon Krathon. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live, a drone shivir or camp is held in New Delhi by the Indian Army in collaboration with the Drone Federation of India for a self-reliant UAV ecosystem in the country. And devotee-strong temples across India marking the first day of 9 nights of the Hindu festival of Navratri.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. India has launched a pilot project for the PM Internship scheme today to enhance skill development through a centralized online platform. This platform, developed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, will enable partner companies to offer internships with financial assistance of around $60 per month to each intern. Interns will participate in a 12-month program, giving them in-depth exposure to various industries. This scheme is part of the government's broader agenda to enhance skill development and employment opportunities across the nation. The Prime Minister's internship scheme was announced in the budget of 2024-25. Now, the scheme will provide internship opportunities in 500 top companies to 1 crore, that is 10 million Indian youth in 5 years. It's aimed at enhancing youth employability and skills. Candidates must be between 21 to 24 years old. Beneficiaries to get 12 months exposure to real-life business environments. They'll also experience varied professions and employment opportunities. The internship allowance, as I had mentioned, is around $60 a month, 5,000 Indian rupees per month. One-time assistance of 6,000 rupees to the youth will also be provided. Companies are expected to bear the training cost and 10% of the internship cost from their CSR funds. And industry leaders have hailed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's internship program, emphasizing that the program will build a future-ready workforce comprising of skilled youth.
FICCI is proud to contribute to the Prime Minister's internship scheme, which will provide internship opportunities to 1 crore youth across India's top 500 companies. They will be integrated into a corporate environment, endowing them with practical, industry-relevant skills. This will promote skill development and enhancing their employability. It will build a future-ready workforce that can drive India's economy forward. This thoughtfully designed initiative will enable industry to onboard interns from rural areas, ensuring inclusivity and diversity in talent sourcing.
FICCI is proud to contribute to the Prime Minister Internship Scheme, which provides training and internship to more than 1 crore people across top 500 companies and corporates of India. It's a great initiative which has the potential to provide the right skill set to so many youth, ultimately which improves their employability. Mami is delighted to be part of this great initiative.
Now, the Indian Army, in collaboration with the Drone Federation of India, organized an event titled Drone Shivir or Camp on Thursday in New Delhi. The Drone Shivir laid a foundation for a self-reliant UAV ecosystem in India. Drone Shivir brought together key stakeholders from the defense sector, government bodies, academia and research institutions to foster the development of an indigenous drone ecosystem. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has addressed the gathering at the reception and dinner hosted by the Ambassador of India to the US on the occasion of India-US CEO Forum and Commercial Dialogue. US Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo was also present. In a post on X, the minister said that the nations discussed the vast potential of collaboration across diverse sectors and ways to further strengthen economic ties. India's President Draupadi Murmu graced the 32nd convocation of Mohanlal Sukhadia University at Udaipur in Rajasthan. The President said that education is the best medium of empowerment. She urged students not to do any such thing that could bring blemish on their character. The President also said that the highest moral values should be a part of their behavior and work style.
मैंने देखा है कि हमारे बेटियां सभी क्षेत्रों में श्रेष्ठ प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं। मेरे संज्ञान में आया है कि आज पदक प्राप्त करने वाले विद्यार्थियों में छात्राओं की संख्या छात्रों से अधिक है। ये बहुत खुशी की बात है कि मैं पदक जीतने वाले सभी छात्राओं की विशेष बधाई देती हूँ।
On the occasion of the first day of the Hindu Navratri festival, a large number of devotees thronged Mata Vaishno Devi temple in Raisi in Jammu and Kashmir. Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board made elaborate arrangements for the devotees. Navratri celebrations involve the worship of 9 forms of the goddess over 9 days, with rituals including recitals and the chanting of scriptures. The festival is also a cultural event tied to the harvest season, featuring pandal competitions and public performances of classical and folk dances. Number of registration counters have also been increased to make it easy for the devotees to register themselves. And now some sports. Well, Bangladesh beat Scotland in T20 World Cup opening match by 16 runs in Sharjah on Friday. Bangladesh bowlers made regular inroads into the Scotland top order as they look to defend their total of 119 for 7. Scotland finished on 103 runs for 7, still 16 runs short of the target. Sarah Bryce, who was unbeaten on 49, ran out of support. Scotland missed out on what would have been a famous upset in their first ever World Cup match. Earlier, Bangladesh won the toss and elected to bat first. Bangladesh batters showed positive intent from the start, but disciplined bowling from Scotland kept them close to 6 runs per over. Now, with an eye on their maiden ICC World T20 trophy, Indian women's cricket team is all set to take on New Zealand in their opening encounter on Friday in Dubai. Harmanpreet Kaur's side has come into the tournament ranked 3rd in the world and having reached at least the semi-finals of the last 3 editions.
With an eye on maiden World T20 trophy, Indian women's cricket team is all set for the 9th edition of the ICC T20 World Cup starting on October 3 in UAE. Led by Harmanpreet Kaur, the Indian team boasts of star players in their lineup: Smriti Mandhana, Jemimah Rodriguez and Renuka Thakur along others, adding to the firepower. India has seen a rather quiet build-up with no international matches for nearly 2 months before the showpiece event. The national team was last in action in the T20 Asia Cup final against Sri Lanka, but lost the marquee clash largely due to poor fielding and struggles against Spain. India arrived at its 15-member squad after months of significant tinkering. This involved workload management, motivated rotations, and trial and error with players of promise based on current form. The major problem for Indian women's team is that they have been unable to cross the final hurdle, be it the 2017 50 over World Cup or 2020 T20 World Cup final or 2022 Commonwealth Games final. Grouped alongside the White Ferns, defending champions Australia, reigning Asia Cup champion Sri Lanka and Pakistan, India will start their campaign under the lights on October 4 against New Zealand in Dubai. They then take on arch rivals Pakistan on October 6. They play Sri Lanka on October 9, while they last face Australia on October 13. India have participated in all 8 editions of the T20 World Cup but have never won the title. In 2009 and 2010, India was ousted in the semi-finals, while in 2012, 2014 and 2016, India could not go past the first round. In 2018 and 2023, India reached the semi-finals but could not go through to the final, and in 2020, India lost in the final. The women in blue have been among the better teams in recent times, but they are yet to lay their hands on the trophy. With tough competition ahead of them, India is set to go for glory and would want to clinch their maiden World Cup title. The wound of their semi-final exit in the 2023 edition is still fresh, and this year's tournament presents the perfect opportunity for retribution. If India can maintain composure and execute their plans effectively, this could finally be their year to lift the coveted T20 World Cup trophy. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, here's wishing a happy hunting to all the Indian cricket players in this World Cup. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.